Today I want to discuss about systematizing your business. Now, I've had a number of students who contact me and they just say they just don't have time for their business. They're either working a full-time schedule or maybe a lot of family stuff is getting in their way, just coming back from the pandemic, a lot of obligations. I get it. But when I probe and I try to help them with those issues, mostly what I see is that they're basically trying to do everything themselves. Maybe they'll hire a virtual assistant to cover like 5 to 10 hours a week, but everything they're trying to do on their own. They're trying to get new customers, they're trying to get on the sales calls, they're producing all of their content, they're making all of their social media posts to get new customers. And that can only go for so long. And with the advent of so much technology that can automate a lot of these processes, I help them to go into a new direction. But I also urge them, if they're serious about their business, that right now they're treating their business as a hobby. Like, I think it will work. I'll put some time into it, but if it doesn't, I'll do something else. And I can understand that because running a business is not the easiest thing in the world. It requires you to have become risk averse and requires you to have the dedication. And I know every one of my students, they're smart. They're got into medical school or nursing school, and they know what to do to get things done. They get things productive. But if for some reason, when it comes to turning a business, they're not really ready to give it their all or put in the effort to make it happen and to make the sacrifices that you need to do to make that happen. So I want to share with you some things that you can be doing right now that'll help you optimize your business. And yes, it will require your time, it will require your energy, and it might require a little bit of money to put in. Not a lot, but once those systems are in place, it's going to make your business a lot easier. And it'll be a lot easier when it comes to actually time to let go of the business or selling your business. Now, you maybe think I'm not even in the position to even think about selling your business, but I think when you have a business, that should always be in the back of your mind, because most businesses end up closing rather than selling. You may not have realized this, and I didn't realize this until I went to a business conference last week. I was in Austin, Texas. Me and my son, we were at a mergers and acquisitions conference. Now, some of you might be listening to it and their eyes might be rolling. Mergers and acquisitions, that sounds boring. I'm a doctor. I don't want to have anything to do with that. But I think when you want to expand your knowledge, your expertise, you have to go to other areas where you might be deficient in. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, or you are an entrepreneur, and you want to be good in business, you need to start going to more business conferences. And mergers and acquisitions is a skill that I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn more about negotiation. And I had a great time at that business conference. And one of the things that I learned there was that, especially in this time of a pandemic, that there are a lot of business out there that just end up closing, and they've got a lot of value in their business. They might have equipment that can be sold. They might have what I'm going to talk about, SOPs or standard operating procedures. They might have talent. They might have employees. They might have a great location. They might have time on their rental lease. They might have other assets in the business that is valuable. And most of those businesses just end up closing, or if they do sell, it's at pennies on the dollar. And even your little side gig is of value. You may not think of it right away, but there is things that you could be building right now. Let's say you're building an email list. Let's say you're building a website that has great rankings on the search engines. Those are all very attractive to other people. And one of the biggest things that you can have is what I mentioned, which are SOPs, or standard operating procedures. Now, every business, when someone is looking to appraise a business, the first thing they look at is to see that they have standard operating procedures, meaning that if somebody buys that business, that they can go right in, and even if they have to turn over employees, they have a document, they have a system that they can go in and they can start using those SOPs and become profitable, or already profitable and become even more profitable. Now, we saw this when, if you've ever seen the movie The Founder, it's a story about Ray Kroc and the McDonald's empire. And what you learn is that he had SOPs in his business so that a McDonald's in Reseda, California could be replicated in Bangor, Maine. It can be replicated in Shanghai, China, because they have systems in place that allow them to follow these procedures, and that they can get a kid out of high school, I was one of them, and to start working the fry grill, because those things don't change. The way that they have their system about where the burgers are being cooked, where the fries are being fried, where the countertop, all those have been figured out. They figure out what are the most optimized positions in that business, and it's all detailed in these SOPs. And I'm not just wanting to talk about this problem just based on online businesses or side gigs, or a coaching business. I've seen this problem in practices, especially solo practitioners, where, let's say Dr. Mary Jones has the practice, and let's say she names it Mary Jones MD. Well, that in itself is not going to be attractive to a buyer, because that's telling the person, the buyer, that if Mary Jones leaves, then that practice is going to depreciate in value. If Dr. Mary Jones leaves, the patients are not going to be very happy. They're expecting Mary Jones to be that doctor. So that value of that practice, it may not have a lot of takers, or it will definitely be lower in value, where versus a business that it's not incumbent of the doctor being there all the time. And I see that all the time with solo practitioners, that let's say the doctor goes on vacation, the business can suffer. They might have someone come in, and that'll only last for a short period of time. An important point I'm going to share with you is never make the business about you. All the businesses that I've created, I did not want myself to be the rate limiting step. I did not want me to be the reason that if I left, that things would fall apart. You need to consider yourself replaceable. And that's a lot of times where solo doctors get in trouble. So, in my practice, I have providers who provide a lot of the services that I'm there that allow me to do important things in my business that pretty much only I can do, or few people can do, which is understanding the running of the entire business, seeing it from a 10,000 foot view, looking at things, looking ahead at what's coming up, whether we need to buy new equipment, what are the numbers that we need to work on, what are the profits that we need to make. I take that from that and my accountant and my other people in my staff, part of my staff. We look at those things, but it's very difficult, I think, to have the provider being full-time and running everything in that business. And I've seen it too many times, is that business will not get a lot of interest when it comes time to selling your business. So how can you fix that? It starts with SOPs, standard operating procedures. And whether it's a physical business, you need to incorporate that in your online business as well. So when they buy it, they can come right in, and whether or not they have to turn over employees, things run smoothly. Those are the type of businesses that are very attractive. And that's one of the main points that I learned at this conference. It starts by creating these SOPs, these standard operating procedures. And I like to think of SOPs in another acronym, which is that when you create SOPs, you're allowing your business to systematize, optimize, and then profitize from your business.